Good morning, Armor Down. How was your weekend? I know it's Tuesday, but how was the weekend? I hope it was nice. I hope it was a good time. We had a good weekend. Um, Family came in town. It was cool. All right. So here we are going into the third week of looking at kind of the structure of how Armor Down and the Four Bells kind of work together to support your mindfulness practice, support your overall sense of well-being, and help you kind of be more engaged in ways that are really sustainable and good for you. I mean, ultimately, we're getting the fourth bell, which is getting to the heart. And so we're on our way. So this week, we're going to talk about third bell. So third bell is all about breath experience, but it's bigger than breath experience. The best way to think about it is the term interoception. So interoception is, some people argue, a sense, kind of like your six, or kind of like your five senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. Interoception is the sense of being aware of what's going on inside of you. So let's just go over our trajectory. So we started out with kind of how the brain works. So we're playing with the model of predictive processing. So your brain isn't just sitting there inside your head waiting for stimulus. Your brain is actively engaged with interactions with the world around you and creating your relationship to the world around you by projecting out what it understands of the world around you, correcting those projections by the sense of what's happening around you. So sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. So top down identity, what's about to happen, what's coming up, what to expect, projecting out, then getting feedback and making corrections. And this is happening constantly. It's what forms this world around us. Okay. So the brain is an active participant in the shaping of your experience of the world around you. It's not just receiving stimulus from the world around you, it's creating, facilitating the experience of the world around you. So from there, we go into, okay, well, that's great. What do we do about that? Is there anything we do about it? What if we've experienced trauma? What if we've got a misinterpretation of what's going on around us? Is there anything that we can do about it? Yes. So the first step is to tame the mind. So the mind is doing all this stuff. So you can tame it. So by taming it, we mean bring it into the present moment. The mind is always projecting, predicting, always analyzing, da 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 da. Well, what happens if you settle it? So we talked about this coming into the present moment. Meditation is this supreme practice. So how do you do that? You tame the mind with the senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. Curiosity tames the mind every time. That's first bell. Second bell is train the mind. You got to tame the mind before you train the mind. It's like an elephant. If you got an elephant in the jungle and you want to use it to its advantages, you can't just tell it what to do. You got to tame it before you train it. So you train the mind to come into the body and be aware of the feelings in the body, kind of the bones alignment of the body. You train the mind to reconnect to the body. Why is this important, especially for the warrior? We've been trained to ignore it. We've been trained to kind of ignore the body, to just look at what the body is offering as, a signal that you're not working hard enough, or, pain is weakness leaving the body. So just push through it. And so part of what that really results in is what we try to kind of counteract in third bell is the more you kind of only interact with your body at these extreme levels, the less you're aware of what's happening in the body. And once we go from kind of outer world to the structure and then to the inner world, we're coming into the realm of emotions. We're coming into the realm of energy, mood, the stuff that really gives that, my relationship to life. The stuff that really gives life oomph is the feeling of it, right? So where does feeling, your inner feeling, show up? Well, it shows up inside. And what's something that is always happening inside that you can actually work with, train with, to get a clearer understanding of this place, to get a better grasp on what's going on. And oh, by the way, to stimulate changes, the breath experience. So third bell is the breath experience. When we get into the third bell, by the time we've gone through bell 1, bell 2, there's a better than average chance that you've settled in a little bit. You've entered what's called the relaxation response. You're kind of settling into the moment. And from that space, you've actually got greater capacity based on how your brain operates, from the space of greater presence and greater calm in the parasympathetic side of the nervous system. You have a greater capacity to feel what's going on. Now, in a training environment, there's less stimulus, right? We're trying to find a settled place to practice. There's less stimulus, so the chances of you seeing subtlety will increase. You'll have a greater sense of, okay, I feel that, or oh, I can feel how I move that, or oh, I can feel my breath. And the goal, the hope is that as you get better and better at seeing this inner space in training, that you can have a better chance of seeing it in real life. And I'll never forget the first time this hit was it was a Sunday afternoon. This was years ago, before my children. My wife and I were out. We were out shopping, doing errands, et cetera, et cetera. I said to my wife, I really want to get home for the football game at 1. The game against, it was the Commanders. Well, back then it was called the Redskins. I really want to get to this game, and it was like 12 o'clock. It was like, we got to leave by about 12:30. So about 12:20 shows up, and I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to feel an energy, right? And so talk about predictive processing. My mind is trying to figure out how to take this moment and get to what I want, right? So I am analyzing everything around me in terms of how do I get to watching this game. And so anything in the way of that is a no-go, right? So my wife walks up to me and she's like, all right, it's about 12:20, right? And we got 30 minutes to get home. Hey, I just want to go look at the sales section, right? One last thing, then we'll go. The sensation inside of me went, I felt it coming up right here, right up here. I felt it coming up. I was about to say something. I was about to be like, Alina, I caught it right about here. So I was like, I caught it. I was like, okay. I turned and I went into like another section, and I like stamped my feet. And I kind of like shook it out. It's like, ugh. And then she'd taken 10 steps, right? She hadn't seen me kind of turn away to like release, right? The release valve, exhaust this frustration. Like, ugh. She turns around. She's like, you know what? Forget it. Let's go so you can get to the start of the game. And I was just like, because in the past I would have been like, Alina, you said this, and Alina, but this time I was like, and she was like, yeah, let's go home. I was like, oh, ooh. And that wasn't a complex environment, but that's how little I understood my inner space. It was the first time. That was like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And when that happened, it was revelatory. I was just like, whoa. Because I just wasn't in my understanding that could even be a thing. Like before I am my mind. It was automatic. There wasn't a awareness to what was going on. It just was. And so now I know what's going on, and the skill of the practice has endowed me with all these tools that I can deploy for different complex environments. And I don't always get it right. I still find situations that are kind of beyond my control that I kind of fumble it and just kind of like make a mess of the moment. But more often than not, I've got interoception of what's happening. I've seen it enough times so that I know what to kind of expect. And I've practiced interacting with it enough and interacting with other people in the context of being aware of what's going on, that I've developed a sense of wisdom. So I can navigate complexity. And think about all the complexity that's out right now. I mean, there's so much complexity with how we're interacting with each other, how we're defining things, how we're understanding the way the world works, technology. There's so much complexity out there. So, having this capacity to, pause, become present, tame that mind, recognize what's happening in the structures of your body, and then to go into the inner space, recognize what's happening in there, and then deploy some kind of technique. Breathing is always the easiest the easiest tool to deploy. Really change. It's a game changer. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of go through the breath experience. I'm just going to point out the different pieces. And then on Thursday, we'll go through a practice with 3 bells. Boom, boom, boom. And we'll go into kind of like the full kind of experience of third bell. So go ahead and get yourself settled. Look for comfort here, right? I mean, there's so much to the warrior experience that includes self-sacrifice, right? Sacrifice your body, sacrifice yourself, sacrifice comfort, also the kind of stuff. You can't really control a lot of those things, but you can control their capacity to get 1 or 2% more comfortable. So just do that. Next, bring your attention to what's around you. Go through the body, ground, pelvis, core, heart space, throat, top of the head. And now just see if you can tell that your breath is moving. Just notice the breath moving at the nostrils. See if you can feel breath moving at the nostrils. Now see if you can feel breath moving in the throat. See if you can feel sensation of breath going up and down in the throat. Now see if you can feel breath moving the torso. So whether it's the chest space, side ribs, back, belly, see if you can feel breath movement in the torso. So that's kind of location where you can feel breath. Now let's look at the pieces of the breath. So there's 3 basic pieces to be aware of. There's the inhale. There's the pause, the turn. So the place where the breath goes from inhale to exhale. So that's a spot. It's the pause, it's the turn, it's the space in between. It also happens at the bottom. So you feel the inhale. There's the pause, the exhale. There's another pause here, and it's usually happens pretty quick. And then the inhale and repeats. You can, change it to like this example. So inhale, exhale, okay? There's little parts there. Now you can move the breath with your thoughts. So if you think belly, think belly button, breathe belly button, think belly button, breathe belly button, feel belly button. Now breathe, think side ribs, feel side ribs, breathe side ribs. Think upper back, breathe upper back, feel upper back. Now just take a really, really big inhale and pause for a second at the top. Once you pause, right, your body and your brain is going to start creating signals that there's too much of a hold going on the inhale and that you're going to need to exhale. And it's going to create sensation in the body that gives you the impetus to exhale. And then it's going to create a rebound, which is like a thank you for exhaling. So if you breathe in deep, pause it, hold, you should feel sensation. You will feel sensation all here. Then you exhale. You'll feel a moment of, thank you for doing that. And then the process will repeat. The breath is super sophisticated. So we'll stop the practice right there. The breath is super sophisticated. You think, well, it's only got a couple parts. It's connected to the whole central nervous system. So Dr. Herbert Benson, famous Harvard doctor, recognized the parasympathetic side of the nervous system. The history of it is pretty neat. In the same kind of lab, which recognized the sympathetic side of the nervous system, he also recognized the parasympathetic side of the nervous system. Those two realms create the entirety of the nervous system. The parasympathetic side has got all this kind of recovery, relaxation, like warm fuzzy, all this kind of stuff. That's its kind of characteristics. And it's on like a spectrum. So it's not one or the other. It's not black or white. It's this ever evolving kind of thing. But if you can spend as little as 90 seconds, 3 deep, long breaths, you can stimulate your body into the parasympathetic side of the nervous system. You can do it in as little as 90 seconds. 90 seconds. It's not a long time. So I saw him in a speech, and he was so matter of fact. He's like, "Oh yeah, for him, it's not. It's water's wet. It's just like this is what it does. Take 3 deep breaths. Tell me it feels different. Everyone takes 3 deep breaths, and the audience is like, wow, I feel different. So your breath is super sophisticated. It's really amazing. And here's the final piece, and then I'll let you go for a day. Is this interaction with your breath? It's very predictable, right? So the breath is predictable. You give your brain something to do. It's a predictable process. You can study it, you can feel it. So the third bell is really this exploration of the breath experience. And the reason why we're exploring the breath experience is because by learning about the breath, learning how the breath feels and feeling it, and you're practicing this thing called interoception, you're going to have greater capacity to catch and to feel the energy that's within you, especially anger. Anger happens fast, it's fire, it's quick, whoosh, or maybe it's simmering and like you're just stuck in it, and you're like, oh gosh, I'm stuck in it. Like, oh, let me change things up. By studying and working with the breath, you're working in the same environment of the emotions, the energy, right? And so that's going to lead us next week, which is into fourth bell, which is, okay, you can change your energy, move your energy, be aware of your energy. But what about cultivating some of your best energy, compassion and love? That's where we're headed into fourth bell. But we're still on third bell, so just keep that in mind. That's the process. Bell 1, 2, 3, 4. To armor down is to open your heart, to get to that place. So bell 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where we're headed, to the open heart. Okay. All right, armor down. I hope you have a great day, and see you on Thursday. Later.